Hello and welcome to Center Ice Cardcast, your one-stop podcast shop for all things hockey cards. My name is Eric Andrews, also known in the hobby as Hammerhawks, and I'm joined by my co-host and fellow hobbyist Aaron Goldstein, better known as Crease Collector. Kicking things off tonight, another new product was released this week as 2019-20 Engrained returned to Upper Deck's lineup this season after making its debut last year. So just looking at some of the general details, Engrained was released on this past Tuesday, June 30th. And similar to last year, it is just one pack per box with 6 cards per pack guaranteed, but a lot of packs actually do end up having 7 cards. So a box breakdown for Engrained this year is 1 base card, 1 rookie card, 1 synthesis insert or a base parallel, 1 signature shots autograph, as well as 2 or 3 additional hits, depending on if you get 6 or 7 cards within the pack. And of course, like any other product, it depends where you look, but generally the boxes sell anywhere, around 190 US or 240 Canadian, somewhere in there for a box. And as far as the returning staple content, it's hard to necessarily call some of the content staple, as it's just the second year that the product has existed. But of course, one of the big draws of the product is the signature shots autograph cards that include autographs on a piece of carbon fiber. The remnants stick cards are also back as well. And the Flexures autograph stick cards are returning as well. And those are just autograph cards that include a piece of game use stick as well as the honorary engravings inserts and the carved in time inserts, both of which have returned again this year. As far as unique returning content, again, hard to maybe call something unique in just the second year that it is in existence, but the distinguishing marks 1-of-1 memorabilia cards have returned, and those feature something from a player's stick that clearly designates, this belongs to that player. So for example, last year, the Alex Ovechkin card had his number 8 off of his stick tape, something like that. So those are back, as well as the dual stick nameplate 1-of-1 cards as well, which are definitely some of the more desirable cards, that Engrained has to offer. As far as new and different content, there are a few things that Upper Deck has added this year. There's really not any cards or subsets or anything that were taken out of Engrained for this year, but a few things have been added or just changed. As far as the signature shots go, the parallels have changed a little bit. So this year it goes from the base version, then to a red version, and then to a blue version for the veterans and rookies, and those are 1-of-1s. And then for the Legends signature shots that are signed on wood, those have a black parallel that serves as the 1-of-1 version. And then new this year are a couple of parallels within the base set. Last year there was just the black parallel, whereas this year they have also added mahogany and rosewood parallels. And within the base set, both for veterans and rookies, mahogany cards are numbered out of 10, and the rosewoods are 1-of-1s. And those both also have autograph memorabilia versions as well that have higher numbering, but those just have been added to the checklist as well. 2 other new autograph additions this year are the carved in time autograph cards. So they're very similar to the standard carved in time insert cards, just with a spot for an autograph included that is a hard signed autograph, as well as synthesis autograph cards, which are really unique in the sense that the cards are made entirely out of carbon fiber. For those of you who tuned in to our Upper Deck Ice review with Billy Celio from Upper Deck, he was talking about those cards, and those are new this year, and they look great, and they're very unique. It's been cool to see those and just how people have been reacting to them so far. As far as breaking down the product a little bit, I think Upper Deck did a really nice job with it. Like I mentioned, really nothing has been taken out of 18-19 Engrained, and really they've just added to that to make it an even stronger product. So I think the continuation in that sense has been really good. And like I mentioned, the carved in time autographs and the synthesis carbon fiber autographs are really just innovative ideas, and I think were executed really well. As well, like I mentioned, the remnants and honorary engravings are back again this year, which I think are definitely a pro for the product. I really like the remnants cards. I think they just pop really nicely with a nice piece of a game use stick from the player. that includes a lot of foil elements as well as an acetate finish on the top layer. They look really, really nice in person. And another thing to note is the honorary engravings cards are actually done in the exact same design as last year. So to almost just continue the set from last year, which I really like, because then that entire set throughout the years just has the same look, and you can just put it together and it just feels like it's all the same set, documenting the history of all of the NHL's awards. So I think that was a really good decision to keep the design the same. And one other big pro for the product this year is a lot of people noticed that there were condition issues with the base related cards last year, whether that just be the base cards themselves or base parallels or base autographs. A lot of the cards had issues with some chipping around the edges, and Upper Deck did a really good job of fixing that problem this year. I have not seen any notable damage on any of the base related cards this year, so it's really good to see that they were able to fix that problem. As far as cons, I was talking about it with Aaron before we started recording. It's honestly really hard to find one for this product. The one thing that, people might say is they might not like how many things within the product are quote unquote manufactured as opposed to game used, so looking at the signature shots autograph cards just being on random pieces of carbon fiber instead of actual game used pieces of sticks. But that's really it. I mean, I can't think of anything in the product that I would, change, or that I would say is, not a worthwhile part of the product. I think it's a really solid product this year, and I've been really impressed with what I've seen. What do you think about Engrained this year, Aaron?
Yeah, just from what I've seen, it's been solid. Your rundown was perfect, by the way. I love that. Just had to let you go there. That was awesome. Just definitely pros and cons of that. As far as the manufactured stuff, I mean, it's kind of disappointing to see in some regard, but on one hand, I do understand why. Upper Deck needs to fill a product and definitely has to keep their costs in line with everything that they do. So to see manufactured content, it's definitely like I understand why they do that. And so as long as they make it appealing to the eye, I think it can be very collectible. Even when you look at in the past, even with like SB Game Use, even throwing back to the original SB Game Use with the Letterman marks, the first time that really the manufactured stuff really took off, those things were very collectible and were a huge hit. So I think if it's done in the right way, I think it can be done, in such a way that it is still, like I said, appealing and still very collectible. And at the end of the day, if they hit those marks, then I don't see too much problem with it. Like as long as it doesn't overpower the rest of the product, I'm fine with that stuff. And you mentioned the honorary engravings done in the same design. I really love that. The ongoing continuation of the set. I really wish that Upper Deck did that a lot more. It's really nice to see that they've done that. They've done that like in their lower sets, like with Upper Deck Series 1, Series 2, with the A Piece of History sets that have been going on for a while. I really like to see that more in high-end products to really kind of continue on that theme of continuing these sets long term with a long term goal in mind. It really brings a lot of collectors to the table for the set collections, and it not only gives them something to chase year after year, but it gives them a reason to be interested in these products as a whole year after year. And maybe they can find something else that they like within that product that they chase for example, the honorary engravings that they're looking to pick up every year. So to see that done, not only the same set, but the same design carried over, has been a really nice sight to see. And I really hope that they do continue that.
And then one other thing I just wanted to mention as well, in regard to that potential con that I mentioned of people not liking the manufactured aspects of the product. I think, yeah, that might be valid, but I think it's also important to remember and realize that these specific things are only being done within Engrained. You're not seeing carbon fiber cards coming out in every single Upper Deck hockey product.
Yeah.
So it's sticking to Engrained, and B, it makes sense to be in Engrained.
Yeah, like it kind of keeps to that theme, which is good. It's not like throwing in manufactured stuff just for the sake of it.
Right.
It obviously fits within their budget. And most importantly, it fits with the theme. So it kind of can have that collectability avenue to kind of, pull collectors in, which is nice. So it's not done. Like I get the disappointment as far as gaming stuff versus manufactured, but like it fits a theme and it's definitely collectible. So, I mean, I don't see too much problem with it as long as they pick their spots and don't get too overpowering with it or too pushy with it. That's fine.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So just kind of moving along now to our main portion of this episode. And we're talking about white whales or any sort of whale or anything that you've heard about over the years. A couple of people haven't heard of the term at all. So we're going to help you out for those who haven't heard. If you refer to another collector talking about a whale or a white whale, they are usually referring to just a card that they have recently picked up or a card that they really, really need that they probably haven't seen in a while, or maybe haven't even seen a picture of it or a scan of it at all. These cards are very, very elusive. It could be because of their print run. It could be out of 2, out of 3, out of 5, or it could just be, say, maybe the way that these cards have been distributed or handed out. So it could have a very high print run, but it was just distributed in a way that it didn't go to that specific target market that sells cards. And so you might find yourself searching for a while. Or it just could be one that came in a hobby box that should have been an easy grab when looking at the checklist or like even the print run. But for some reason or another, you can't find it. And I'm not talking about those cards that you still haven't seen in 6 months or 10 months or a year or something like that. I'm talking about those cards. And I think we all know the ones that you have not seen in ages. Maybe going on 3, 4, 5, 6 years, even 10 or 15 years. These are the cards that are elusive to say the least. You would do almost anything to acquire this card for your collection. You would pay triple the market value of this card just to finally have it. It doesn't matter if it's worth a lot or not. It's just one of those cards that you really, really need. And for some reason, you have not been able to find it, or it's slipped right through your fingers. And just, if I can just elaborate on that, again, I've seen people refer to a whale, like we were just talking before the show, as, like a McDavid Future Watch auto, like, oh, that's my whale. Like, I would do anything to grab that. I mean, there's 999 McDavid Future Watch autographs. And if you want to, pull in the Future Watch autograph patches as well, like just from that set, there's a ton of McDavid autos. And if you do an eBay search today, you'll find a ton, or if you Google them or whatever. So you can see what the card looks like. You know exactly what it is. Probably a handful of people who have one. That to me is personally, in my opinion, not a whale or not a white whale. It's just a card that unfortunately it might be too, outside of your budget, or it's something that you can buy, but, just like other things like bills take priority. And so it wouldn't be that wise to pull the trigger on a Future Watch Auto of McDavid or a Future Watch Auto patch or a graded version. It just doesn't make sense financially. While it is a huge card, and I don't want to, negate that, or I don't want to diminish your longing for one of these cards, like referring to like a white whale, like I think those cards are reserved for, a different category. Like I'm not saying a McDavid card can't be your white whale. If it's a low numbered card that you have not seen a copy of, maybe like a rookie year version or a sophomore season, and that say in 5 years or 10 years from now, you still can't find, then definitely, put that on your want list and keep it there. But for white whale territory, I think it needs to be a little bit more elusive than that, than a Future Watch to get that official title, like at least for me. So that's my definition of a whale, like or a white whale. To me, they're the same thing, a whale or a white whale. Those to me are cards that, just personally speaking, they're super elusive in their print run or in even their existence, like there's some cards that, like, even for my collection, like there are some cards that I have not seen a picture of. I have not seen like evidence that they exist. And so if you're questioning the existence of a card, or you've seen other collectors talk about it, chances are like it probably does exist. It's just you haven't seen it yet. So that would be probably your white whale. What that is exactly, it depends on your collection, and depends on your even your own definition of one. Like we're not the hobby, law or anything. Like, this is just our opinion. But to me, it's something that you just have not seen, or you've had it slip through your fingers, one too many times, and it just seems impossible for one way or another for you to acquire this one card. And you would do almost anything to find out, like even have a scan of it, or a picture, or even just know where one is, for you to kind of hopefully capture it for your collections one day. So that to me is just my definition of a whale and what is not a whale. So Eric, if you just want to speak on your thoughts about it on this particular topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing to me is understanding that the monetary value has nothing to do with if a card is a whale or not. I posted on social media a few months ago, pretty much when the COVID crisis hit North America, just posting, hey, like, share what your whales are, and hopefully people will see this and they have one and you can find your card. And it was really interesting to see how many people, I don't know if they were newer
Like
collectors
maybe
or,
younger collectors. Yeah, that's what I'm
yeah,
thinking.
I don't know if exactly what it was, but a lot of people just saying, oh yeah, like a Crosby Young Gun or a McDavid Future Watch or something like that.
Right.
And it's like, okay, like absolutely, those are huge cards, and I mean
Definitely.
cards that I think everybody would love to have, right? But they're not whales, they're not elusive. Like that is what defines a whale to me, is that card has to be really elusive, and like you said, Aaron, it has to be something that has been around for a while. For me, I could say the Jacob Slavin 2019-20 SP Game Used tonight's lineup 1 of 1 card. Like, I
Right.
would love to have that card, and I hope that I find it one day, even though it's a 1 of 1. But in no way is that a whale, because it just came out, whatever, like 6 months ago. Like
Yeah,
that's not a whale.
I agree. I agree.
That's just a rare card that hasn't surfaced yet.
It's a great card.
Um,
I love the idea for a set.
but for me, like 3 years is the bare bone minimum of whale territory. But I would probably venture more like 4 or 5, more in that range. And obviously, the longer it goes, definitely the more it deserves that title. There are cards that I might say after a few years, I don't know if I would consider them a whale, but after 5 or 6 years, then yeah, I probably would. And like you mentioned, to you, a whale versus a white whale is the same thing. Whereas for me, I would say a whale is probably something, in that 3 to 5 year range where, maybe you just haven't seen one yet, or you've seen 1 or 2 and just haven't been able to acquire it. Whereas a white whale to me is something that, either it's been out for 10 plus years, or you've never seen one, or something like that. So in my opinion, a card for me that I would consider a white whale is the Nicholas Hjalmarsson 2008-09 SP Game Used 1 of 1 rookie card. I've never seen it. I know it's out there somewhere. It exists, but I've never seen it, and it's, almost 11, it's over 11 years old now. So for me, that kind of goes into that next category of being a white whale. People are going to vary on that, like we've established here. I think a whale and a white whale are different. Aaron thinks it's the same thing, and there's no right or wrong. It's just different opinion on it. But I think it's important to recognize a whale is based on the elusiveness of a card, not the value. That is, I think, to me and to both of us, what a whale is at its core.
Definitely. To your point about just the value, I mean, that's not saying that the card won't command big dollars. I mean, if that 1 of 1 card you mentioned, the SB Game Used 1 of 1, like I think it's called the Gold Spectrum Parallel.
It's platinum Platinum
Platinum
Spectrum.
Spectrum.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, for that card, I mean, if that went up for auction, like I know there is a lot of Hawks collectors, like that probably would fetch a pretty penny,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you saw the auction first. Like maybe it was an auction, maybe it was a buy it now. Like depending on what your situation was, like a lot of us like wouldn't think twice about hitting the buy it now for probably a shocking price when it came down to it, depending on what the card is. So these cards might command a lot of money at the end of the day, especially in the open market, but it doesn't always have to. I think with a hobby today is so, value driven. I mean, like obviously every card out there costs money, even, 90 Pro Set, those do, have some value in a way, I mean, so like every card out there does have value. But yeah, for these white whale cards, they might command a couple bucks or they might command, a couple $100. But just the fact that they're elusive and you have not seen one or haven't seen one in a very long time definitely makes it a whale, like, or a white whale to your point. I definitely see your point about the white whale aspect of it, of one that goes beyond just you haven't seen one or, you haven't seen one in a very long time. So I definitely see your point on that. For our own collections, we're just going to run down like just our own personal stories of some whales that we've landed for our own collections. And then we're just going to talk about some whales that we're still searching for and then how to find your white whale. So like I guess I'll start. I'll talk about I've been very fortunate to acquire cards that I deem white whales for my collection, for my Jonas Enroth collection. For those who don't know, I'm a big collector of his, and his cards. I've been collecting his cards for about 10 years now, so I've definitely seen it all, or not seen it all, but I've definitely picked up a fair bit of cards. And so for my Enroth collection, I'll start with probably my most recent white whale that came through in December of 2019. And I don't want you to give the impression that I'm picking whales up every month or every couple months, because that is definitely not the case. Yeah, exactly. I know. But this did happen fairly recently. There's a backstory to this, with every good card story. I was just a regular Tuesday, I think it was. And I just offered to get some coworkers some coffee. And for those who don't know, I am in Canada. And again, for those who don't know, us Canadians, we love Tim Hortons. And we drink it all the time. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to do a Timmy's run for my coworkers. They deserve it. It's been a really tough week so far, and we're super busy. So let's just, like, I'm going to be that guy, and I'm going to treat you to some coffee. So I went on the Timmy's run. I got everyone's orders, and I went to our local Timmy's. And so I was in line, and I put in my gigantic, 10-cup order of Tim Hortons, and then I decided, you know what? It's going to take a while for them to get stuff ready. I'm going to sit in Tim Hortons. And usually, I don't really sit in Tim Hortons. I'm usually in and out. But for that day, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sit in Tim Hortons. And for whatever reason, I'm like, you know what? Like, let's just check eBay. Again, I think all collectors know how, trigger happy we are when it comes to searching stuff on eBay, at random points of the day. And so that was me today. I usually don't check around that time. But I decided, you know what? It's going to be a while for these coffees. I'm going to just sit in Tim Hortons and I'm going to check eBay. I'm going to connect to the Wi-Fi and check some eBay. So I just did, a typical Jonas Enroth search and just, what are the newly listed items? And there it was. It was a card from 2011, 2012, Between the Pipes. And it was a dual autograph card of Jonas Enroth and Tom Barrasso. And again, for those who don't really follow Between the Pipes or don't follow in the game or old in the game when it was under Dr. Price, those cards were very, very sought after, like as were a lot of Between the Pipes sets, especially the autograph versions. And those dual autographs were unnumbered, but they were numbered to 5. So only 5 exists. For those who aren't familiar with the hobby or aren't familiar with certain players, Tom Barrasso is nuts with collectors. There have been a incredible amount of hardcore Tom Barrasso collectors out there over the years. So like I saw a blurry scan of this card years ago, and I kept it on my computer. So I knew it was out there, but to my knowledge, a Barrasso collector in Sweden picked it up, paid about, I think maybe 100, 150 for it, maybe more. He was really intense with his collection. And that's the only one I heard of at the time. And then one or two others did surface, I believe. Like I heard through the grapevine that a couple others of the 5 had shown up, but one or two other Barrasso collectors had paid through the nose and got this card for their collections. So, and once they're in a Barrasso collector's collection, you're done. Like that's it. It's never coming loose. So like, I'm like, all right, there's 5 out there. 3 of them have been locked away in collections forever. And that's it. I probably won't ever get to see this one. Who knows if the other ones are in boxes or what. But so I was at Tim Hortons that day, and I saw that dual autograph of Jonas Enroth and Tom Barrasso from Between the Pipes in 2011 on eBay. You know, just brand new. There it was like a newly listed item. And I swear I've never hit the buy it now button so fast. I didn't even look at the description. This card could have been mangled. You know, it could have been one of those listings where, you know, it's for a fridge magnet with a card printed on the front. I did not care. No, I didn't care. I didn't look at the description. I hit the buy it now button so fast. Like, I'm not going to tell you how much I paid. If you like really want to know, just like message me or send me a tweet or something. But yeah, I paid the amount that he wanted, and yeah, there was a best offer option available. So I could have probably gotten it cheaper, but honestly, at this point, after searching for one for about 8 years, I was like, there's no way I'm going to take a chance and let this thing slip through my fingers. If I put an offer on it, or I get cheeky with it, I'm trying to get it for cheap, and then someone else swoops in and gets it. There's no way. So, yeah, I hit the buy it now button so fast. And then I went back and checked the sold listings, and I saw that it was sold, obviously, by myself, and I bought it. And I then went through the description and found out that it was the card that I was looking for, and the picture was there and all that. So I'm like, man, and I just stared at it forever. And I'm sitting there at Tim Hortons and was like, wow, like I can't believe that card just popped up out of nowhere. You know, like it wasn't there the day before. It must have got listed that morning or that afternoon. And I just happened to see it, happened to stumble upon it, which I'm very happy that I did. And yeah, and then my coffee order was ready. I grabbed it, and honestly, I put it down and sat back in the chair, and looked at the card some more, because that was like, wow, I can't believe I got that. It's unnumbered out of 5. There might be a couple floating around out there, and people don't know that it's that rare. And funny thing about whales, we will touch on this a little bit later in the episode, but this collector, like I went through his auctions that he had going that day, like his listings that he had. And I found out that he was a set collector, a massive Between the Pipes set collector. So he had broken up all of his autograph sets, his singles, his duals. And so he had listed his entire dual autograph set out of 5. And for those who aren't familiar with the set, it is a bunch of awesome names in it. Some not so awesome with Jonas Enroth, but hey, that's all right. I mean, just some phenomenal names in the set, some phenomenal dual autographs that are very elusive because they are unnumbered from a lot of passionate Between the Pipes collectors. So, I mean, the fact that he broke it up, he just decided he's done with these sets, kind of came out of nowhere, and you never know when people are going to break up sets. So that's another lesson for you guys out there. Just never know. Just keep going. A guy probably has your card somewhere. So that to me is a really fun story about my most recent whale. I have a couple of others, like I said. If you want to hear of others, just let me know, and I'll definitely I'll tell you about a couple more. That's the one that came to mind most recent because, again, it just happened a couple months ago, and so it's still fresh. And Eric, I just want to throw it back to you. Sorry, I kind of rambled on a bit, but it's so fresh in my mind that this whale was a big one for me. Do you have any memorable stories about any of your whales that you've picked up over the years?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember when you did get that card and posted online, and there were a lot of people that were really happy to see that you finally got one, because that was
actually, sorry, I'm just gonna back up here. Like I had actually posted this in a couple threads over the years of, like Eric, you were saying like early in the episode, like, oh, like what's your white whale, or a couple of whales that you've never seen it. And that was the card that I listed more than a couple times because like I knew it existed. I had some shady little scan of it that that I'd kept from like an old listing. And so I did mention it as one of the cards that I would love to own. And finally, after 8 years, I was finally able to snag one. So definitely stoked about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, thinking about whales that I've secured, there's probably a lot more that just aren't coming to mind. But I thought of three, that immediately came to mind. One being a card that I just got a month ago. For those of you who might not be on card forums or just don't know me super well, I was able to finally reel in the Jacob Slavin 2015-16 The Cup Black Auto 1 of 1. I had never seen the card after almost 4 years, and one day in late May it just popped up on eBay randomly, and kind of almost exactly the same as your story, Aaron. I actually did message the seller and say, hey, realistically, what's the best that you can do on the card? It was just to
It's
buy it
risky.
now. It was just to buy it now. There was no best offer option. So I figured, well, it's overpriced, so I might as well reach out and see if they're willing to talk a little bit about the price. And I sent the message, and then it kind of just occurred to me, I don't know if it's worth waiting to hear back from them and risk someone else buying it, because I know there are some collectors in the Hurricanes market that are, pretty serious about collecting nice cards of their players, and a lot of them aren't super involved online, but I know through some people that there are a few hardcore Hurricanes collectors that go after a lot of the rare high end stuff of their favorite players. So with that in mind, I thought, this is definitely more than I would want to pay for this card. In this case, for the card, I probably paid, $100 more than I think it's worth. But would I rather have saved $100 on it potentially, or not have it?
Yeah.
And obviously for a card like this, if a hardcore Hurricanes collector bought it, I'm probably never seeing that card again. So, it's kind of one of those times where it's just like, hey, I got to suck it up and just buy the thing. And I did, and I definitely don't have any regrets about that. As far as cards, it's unquestionably the cornerstone of my Slavin collection. I'm really happy that I was able to finally find it. As far as another card, probably with a little bit better of a story, the Slavin, I really just saw it and bought it. But, as far as a card with a better backstory, some of you might know that I collect the 2003-04 Parkhurst Original 6 Chicago product. I'm working on putting together the entire master set of the product, every card that was part of it, which is a relatively new development. I probably started that project maybe a year or so ago at this point. But going even farther back, I had always wanted the Keith Magnuson autograph card from that set, because Keith was actually a pretty good friend of my dad's. A lot of people in the hobby probably have never heard me tell the story that my dad was the strength and conditioning coach for the Blackhawks in the early 80s. And
That's cool.
yeah, and so obviously he knows all of the guys that played at that time. So I mean, he coached, well, not coached per se, but trained, Dennis Savard when he came in as an 18-year-old, and trained Tony Esposito and Doug Wilson and guys like that. And at that time, Keith Magnuson was the head coach in those years that my dad was there. So they worked together really closely, and were really good friends. And a lot of Blackhawks collectors might remember Keith as as a fan favorite player back in the 70s for the team. even though he wasn't necessarily a big name that put up a lot of points. And then he died tragically in a car accident, I believe in 2003. There was a huge market for his cards in the aftermath of that. And one kind of interesting component of that product is it was released in 0304, but I'm pretty sure that it was intended to come out in 2002-03, because if you look at the back of the autograph cards, it actually says, the whatever, congratulations, you have received a 2002-03 Parkhurst Original 6 autograph card instead of 0304. So it's
That's
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, just for what that is, but also, of course, for a 2003-04 card, obviously that wouldn't have really been able to have been signed by Keith, depending on when the production happened and all that. But it was produced before then, obviously. Probably more so in 2002 is when the cards were actually being made and mailed out to be signed. But obviously, after he passed, that card very quickly became an extremely desirable card to have, as the product was released after his passing at that point. So pretty much all of those cards immediately went into Blackhawks collections and just have not surfaced. I was aware of the card at that point and, thought that it would be cool to have it, but never really seriously went after it. I was still pretty young at that point. And then in 2012, I acquired the Dominion Kindest Cuts 1/1 autograph of Keith Magnuson. And so at that point, I said, hey, how cool would it be if I, put together a collection of all of his certified autograph cards? Because there's only 3 of them. There's that cut autograph 1/1. There's a Topps Archives, like a rookie reprint autograph card that those are also pretty darn hard to find. I found one, I don't know, probably in like 2014 or somewhere around there, a few years after, but I could just never find and acquire that Parkhurst Original 6 autograph card. There was actually one, it was probably maybe like 2016, somewhere in there, 2015, 2016, somewhere around then. There was one that surfaced on eBay, and I won the auction for the card. And before I could pay for it, the seller said, hey, I kind of changed my mind. I don't think I want to move the card. I think I'm going to keep it.
Oh man,
I know. So
that's tough.
I was devastated, because it's like, man,
Crushing.
after whatever 4 or 5 years of looking for this card, I finally found one and I won it. And now you're not going to actually follow through with the sale?
Yeah,
Like,
you're not going to do the deal.
are
Oh
you
man,
kidding me? Like, come
that's
on,
tough.
man.
Like it's his
And
right to do that, but I mean, he has the card, but still,
yeah,
it's crushing.
it was hard. It was hard. And then there was another copy. I don't remember the story at this point. There was another one that surfaced, and I don't know if the guy just wanted way too much for it, or if he was kind of just like doing the, oh, I'm just showing it off kind of thing, or whatever it was. I couldn't acquire it, even though it had surfaced. And it was, I think, within a year either way of that. I don't remember exactly, but so there were 2 within a year or so that I just couldn't reel them in. And then finally in August of 2018, I did finally land one through eBay, and that completed my trio of the Magnuson certified autograph cards. So that was just an awesome accomplishment for me. For the average collector, they might hear that name and say, oh, like, whatever, he was just a rugged stay-at-home defenseman, that didn't really do much in his career and didn't have a super long career. But for Blackhawks fans, he's a beloved player that is definitely an icon of the franchise and their history. And for me to be able to be the only person in the world that owns the trifecta of his certified autograph cards is pretty cool. Being able to finish it off with a card that I've been looking for ages was just a fitting way to close it out. And then one other one, I'll just touch on this briefly. It's actually not even a card, but in our introductory episode, I mentioned that I collect one of my friends, Derek Whitmore, who had a very brief cup of coffee with the Buffalo Sabres throughout his career. But I have a pretty pretty significant jersey collection of his, and all of them were from his professional days, ranging from being in Buffalo's system, then to going over to Europe, and then coming back over to North America. And I have jerseys from almost every stop that he made during his pro career, but I could never find one of his college jerseys from when he played at Bowling Green State. There's one on a jersey site that I found kind of just randomly by chance, just every now and again, like, and when I say that, I mean like maybe once every year or two, I'll just go on Google and search, for random jersey sites and see what I can find. And I just happened upon this one site that had one of his Bowling Green jerseys listed. And so I bought it, I just bought it and paid for it immediately. And then probably a couple days later, I get an email from the website saying, hey, I don't know what happened, but we don't have that jersey. Like,
Man, again,
I
the
know.
worst luck with picking up stuff you need.
I know.
Man.
And they're like, I don't know if we must have sold it at some point and it just never was taken off the website. Cause we obviously have our own pictures of it and everything, and we had a listing for it, but we don't have that jersey. So sorry, here's your money back. And I was just like, oh, come on. I've never seen one available after, all these years. And then there's this one, and I thought I had it, and nope. And then, another few years go by, probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Fast forward to spring of 2019. And I was just, I think it was on Facebook, just on a jersey group that I'm part of, and a guy just happened to have one, and finally was able to land that jersey that I've been looking for close to, probably about 10 years at that point. Not a super valuable item or desirable item by most people's standards, but something that, really kind of rounded out my collection of his jerseys in a way.
No, that's awesome. I love that story. I love I love how it kind of got dangled in front of you a bit. It makes it even sweeter, like once you finally do acquire that piece for your collection, it could be a card, could be a jersey, but just something that truly, again, like you said, it's not really about the player. It might not be the most desirable, NHLer out there, as opposed to the Ovechkins, the Crosby, the McDavids, but it definitely holds a nice place in a small pocket of collectors and their collections. And for whatever reason, it's these pieces are hard to get, but when you do, it's a good feeling.
Yeah,
And
it's actually funny because the jersey that I own, for any of you guys listening that might be jersey collectors, specifically college jersey collectors, you probably are familiar with a collector and his website. I think it's called Johnson College Hockey Jerseys or something like that. His last name is Johnson, and he collects college hockey jerseys. And
really?
I know, shocker. And he's got an insane collection. It's insane. If you guys just Google Johnson College Hockey Jerseys, you'll find it. It's unbelievable, the amount of jerseys that this guy has. But anyway, he owned this specific jersey that I now own, and he on his site documents every jersey that he's ever owned. So I was always aware of that jersey, and I had contacted him, the first time that I became aware of it, and he said, "Oh yeah, I sold that a while ago. I have no idea where it is now. I don't even remember who I sold it to or anything."
Right.
So, sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
I can't help you. And so it's just kind of funny that all those years later that I was able to find that exact jersey.
Well, it's cool. It was documented. I'm not sure if he put down, especially jersey collectors, they're very, very meticulous, and they're very, very into authenticity. Card collectors are too, but I find that jersey collectors are very, very, very particular about
Yes.
the stuff that they pick up, about the even down to the type of thread used. They're very, very detailed collectors, especially those hardcore ones, which is awesome to see. But I'm sure he had some sort of maybe purchasing record, or maybe when he had it or when the jersey was used or some sort of thing like that. So it's good to know that it was out there. And then when you did acquire it for your collection, you're able to read up about the jersey more maybe. I mean, you probably already knew yourself just from collecting player, but that's really cool. That's really, really cool. Just to kind of touch on, congrats on the Cup Black, by the way. Well, welcome to the club. If I can just, rewind it there. That's a beautiful card. I love when you picked that up. I love when you told me you bought it. I was like, oh man, I definitely know that feeling. For those who are not familiar, the Cup Black parallels are, to some it might be a very simple parallel, especially with the Cup, depending on the year. The design of the card might be pretty basic, and the Cup Blacks are just that. They have the black foil, and there's nothing too super fancy about them. But to me, they're bold and they're just beautiful looking cards, and there's nothing really like them. Like there's like a black foil parallel that's been done in a lot of products, but the Cup just does it so well. It's almost like a matte black. Oh, it just really, really just such a great card. So congrats on that. I'm not sure if your Cup year does the same, but I know from my Cup Black in 09-10, the actual card stock, like if you flip the card over, not to the back, but just to the middle,
Yes. Yep.
and you
Yep.
see the actual card stock that it's printed on, not the full way through, but a good portion is actually black. Like they kind of murdered out the middle of the card to be black. Like they blacked it out. So the foil on the front, it's the black foil parallel. That's cool. We all know what that looks like. But then the actual stock that it's made on is black, and I believe that they do that for maybe not all, but for the rookie gold parallels as well. I know the
Yes.
one I have is a gold finish on the card stock itself. So that is, I don't know if any other products have done that. If that to me has been the first and only time I've seen the actual cardstock colored like that in either a gold or just a very, darkened, just black finish. Like that to me is like, I don't look at the sides of cards very often or even really notice the cards. Like you notice the cardstock, but to have that extra level of not just thickness that the Cup is known for, that first high end, wow, like this is quality, but just to have that rounded out attribute of the card that is actual aligned with the foil is so cool, and it's something I to that point hadn't seen it done before. So when I found that out by accident, when I was putting the card away, I was blown away. I'm like a lot of people won't think that's cool, but I think that's the coolest thing, how they kind of did that.
Yeah.
So I mean, that is just so cool. So I'm not sure if your black barrel has the black, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's stunning.
I'm pretty sure it does. I would have to look again. I think I know exactly what you're talking about with the gold ones as well.
Yeah.
Those I believe have not been done for a while. I think those were
Yeah.
only done like the first. They were not done in 0506, I don't think. And then I think they
Mine, yeah.
started. I think they started in 0607, or
Okay.
maybe 0708. I think
Yeah,
06 07.
because mine was from obviously the Jonas Enroth version, the Cup rookie gold parallel, um, from 2009 2010. So that's the only experience I have on it. I have owned a couple of Cup cards over the years. I didn't look, honestly, like I didn't notice it the first time I really gave these rookie gold and black parallels a look over was with my own collection, but it would be very interesting. And obviously with scans, it's hard to tell too, because a lot of times you can't see the side of the card, like from the scanner. But so yeah, it's a very, really, really cool detail. So I'm hoping yours has it, but definitely congrats on that. It's a really big card, and it's something that you touched on, but it's definitely a cornerstone piece for any player collector. I think it's definitely, the Cup is the Cup. It's a very high-end product. It's a very, very popular product with a lot of brand equity, and it's definitely sells with a lot of collectors. And when you mention the Cup to any hockey fan or any hockey collector, you know what they're talking about. So big congrats on that. And speaking of your dad, and he was strength and conditioning coach for the Blackhawks, and actually trained Tony Esposito. I just have a quick story on that. Just like another quick, I'll try to be brief here. Just another whale that I'm going to talk about because Eric mentioned three. So I'm just going to bring up one more of my own that I picked up not too long ago either. Like, I feel like whales are coming in left and right. I don't want to give you the wrong impression. I really don't, listeners. I don't. But it was recent as well. Well, it has a big backstory. So a couple of years ago, through Sports Card Forum, um, like I was going through the database there, which is really cool. You definitely check that out. It's a lot more detailed than Beckett's checklist, I find. But anyway, so I was going on there, and I found a copy of the 2010, 2011 Masked Man Gold Parallel for Jonas Enroth. And the gold parallels are out of 10. They're unnumbered, as is with some elusive parallels within the game. So I had not seen a copy of this card in forever. It was the first copy that I had ever seen. I knew they existed because, the Masked Man parallels are pretty solid. If your guy is in one, you know that he has a parallel or two. So I was confident on the existence. Like, I just didn't see one. And I found a collector who collected just a lot of masked cards. And, that's fair. You can collect, whatever you like, but that was his thing. But he also collected Tony Esposito. He was a big Tony Esposito collector. So I reached out to this collector and said, hey, man, I collect, Engrained cards. I have not seen this gold parallel, but, it's definitely a very awesome card, and I would love to own it. So what do you want for it? And I was definitely willing to buy it. And I think a couple of you have come across this at one point or another. That's the reason why I'm telling this story, is that this collector did not want to sell it. He only wanted to trade for it. That's it. So I said, are you sure? Like, I'll pay you over market value for it. I just really want the card for my collection. But nope, no amount of money would sway him. He only wanted to trade. So I asked him what he collected, and he said that he would really want Tony Esposito cards. And I don't have any Tony Esposito cards. I do now. I have one, but at the time I didn't have any Tony Esposito cards, and I had no intention of ever having any Tony Esposito cards. No offense, Tony. But so he would not sell the card. He wouldn't trade it for anything but Tony Esposito cards. And so that was very frustrating. And so he would not budge. And I would come back to him every month. Hey, do you want to do a deal for this? Have you changed your mind? No, I just want Tony Esposito cards, just a handful that I'm looking for. And I'm like, well, what if I give you money to buy some cool Tony Esposito cards on eBay right now? No dice, nothing. Like, he was not letting this thing go unless it was for Tony Esposito, which is unfortunate. So he said he would not sell the card. And this went on for, I would say about a year of haggling, trying to see if he would get a deal done. And no dice. And then one time I was talking to him again about the card. Once again, we were talking about it. No, I'm not going to sell. And then one day he comes back to me and says, hey, man, thanks, but I just sold the card. So sorry about that. And I'm thinking, man, I just offered to buy the card off you for a year. And then, you're coming back to me saying, I sold it, I'm sorry. I sold it at a show and it's gone. And I'm like, I wasn't too mad about it because it's your card. You have every right to trade it or sell it when you see fit. And, the gold parallels are nice. So who knows, maybe he just had a lot of personal attachment to it. Maybe he pulled it himself. I have no idea. But, hey, it sucked real bad, but, the world goes around. So, after that disappointment, it was the only one I'd ever seen, and life goes on. And so a couple of years later, this year actually, 2020, he reached out to me. I'm not sure if he knew I was the same guy, but he reached out to me through my website and said, he filled out the contact information and sent me an email and said, hey man, I have this Jonas Enroth card, the gold version, the Masked Man, out of 10. Do you need it? Do you want it? And I knew exactly who this guy was right away. He was the same guy that apparently had sold the card after saying he would not sell it. Told me he did. And then now, a couple of years later, he magically has the card again. So I don't know if he just wanted me to stop bugging him. Probably did. I like talking about cards, as you can see by this podcast. So for him to get a tad bit annoyed, honestly, that's probably what happened. And I was very respectful with it, all of that. And that's fair. So maybe he had to change heart. So that's all right. Cool. All right. So yeah, let's do a deal for the card. I still want it. Awesome. And again, I'm not going to sell the card. I'm only going to trade for it. And I'm like, well, all right, let's do this again. What do you collect? And he said that he would be open to trading a Masked Men card for this Masked Men card. So doing a straight up trade. But he wanted the final vault stamped versions of Masked cards. That's what he collected. So, okay, like usually a lot of people don't like that stuff. But all right, if you collect it, that's cool. But he wouldn't take the 1 or 2 copies that I had. So I had to go out of my way to buy, I think I bought a Ryan Miller or a Olaf Kolzing 1/1 gold stamped Masked Man card from Final Vault. Got it shipped to me, shipped it to him straight up for the gold version of this Masked Man card. So honestly, I thought he was pulling my chain, but I got the card in hand, and that was awesome. Like, just to see that kind of fight for one after all those years, I won't sell to anyone, and then I sold it, and then magically a couple years later it comes back around with the card. That was frustrating, but hey, it's cool. I have no ill will towards the seller at all. I believe his name was Rob, so thanks, Rob. I really appreciate it. You're a good dude. That card meant a lot to me, and it still does. I look at it. I saw it today, actually. I was going through some cards, and I saw it today, and I pulled it out. And I'm like, man, like what an awesome card. So thanks for that. It's been the only copy I've seen in 9 years. So what a war we had to go through to get it. But it's finally home where it belongs in my collection. And yeah, so you you brought up Tony Esposito. I'm like, man, I love Tony Esposito, but I kind of don't want to hear about his name or any of his cards because it kind of reminds me. Yeah, no, it does. It reminds me of that time that I had a frustrating no deal for a card that I really needed. And yeah, I mean, and just a fun little story there. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. That's frustrating. I mean, like if a guy comes to me and says, hey man, like I'm not going to sell or whatever, that's fine. But the fact that he wasn't open to selling and wasn't open to me buying a card for him or this or that, he just wanted a specific card or two, that's frustrating. It's totally within your right to do that. No problem with it. But, if I'm giving you money to buy cards you need, please consider it.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
don't.
hey, you know what? Yeah.
Yeah, it's well within your right, but please don't be that guy.
Like, I don't want to say that, but I mean, yeah, it's tough, especially when I'm offering cold hard cash to go out and spend however you like on whatever you like. It's a pretty sweet deal. It's like getting money for your birthday. It might not be exactly what you wanted, but money's not bad. So, hey, it is what it is. No ill will to that practice, although it is frustrating, and no ill will to that seller at all. He's a really good dude. I'm glad we can eventually get a deal done and both sides are happy. So, yeah, just had to throw that in there with your Tony Esposito bit. And, yeah, so for us as well, going towards the future in our collections that you love hearing about so far, hopefully.
Everyone's falling asleep.
Oh, yeah, especially at this time of night. But now for the future, like what whales that we're searching for. So for those who have any, if you're listening, please let us know. And do not ask for Tony Esposito in trade. But some whales that I'm still searching for my Jonas Enroth collection. This card has been debated by other Enroth collectors and a few other of the set collectors of that time, is the 09-010 Artifacts Rookie Black autograph out of 5. It is numbered out of 5, and I have not seen a copy of this card. I heard a rumor that another Enroth collector did have one, but other collectors say it doesn't exist. I'm fairly convinced that it does, although I haven't seen a picture of it. I heard a rumor that one collector did have one, so I have no reason to believe that he lied about that. He's no longer in the hobby to my knowledge, which is unfortunate, but hey, that's all right. And another card that I would really love to have is again from 09-010. It's the Fleer Ultra Rookie Ice Medallion,
Mm,
and they're they're fairly
yep.
popular cards with collectors. So they're not rare by any means. The rookie versions are out of 25. It's not terribly rare, but for what I've seen copies of other guys from the set, but for whatever reason, I have not seen the Enroth card. I heard a rumor that these cards were, for whatever reason, and they're not autographed, they're just a simple parallel, just the ice medallion for those who are aware of what the parallel is, that these were packed out later or something like that, you know, in a second run of the product or something like that, and didn't get distributed right away. I have no idea if that's true, but for whatever reason, it's out of 25. And again, same thing with the artifacts out of 5. Collectors, other Enroth collectors have debated the existence of it. I do have a record of one selling in 2010. It sold for over $100.
Oh,
Yeah, a
geez.
card out of 25 sold for about $100 Canadian, plus shipping. So I have no idea how much that was. So yeah, it sold for $100. I'll buy it now, and that's the record that I have of one selling. There's no picture, unfortunately, because the listing was so old. But yeah, so one is out there guaranteed. As far as the other 24, I have no idea. I don't know if there was a production issue and maybe a couple of them were only able to be released. Like I know that did happen with a triple signatures from Sign of the Times with Enroth, Lundqvist, and Erzberg. Not all 25 are out there. So it could be a production issue as well for these cards. But it's hard to believe on a parallel with no autograph for a production issue. But hey, stranger things have happened. So, I mean, I have no idea where the other 24 are. I would gladly pay a fair chunk of change for that card. I've talked to a couple of hardcore Enroth collectors over the years, and none of them have it. They don't know who has that card. But yeah, so it sold 10 years ago, and I have not seen another one since. I've never seen a picture of the card. I just have one record of one selling back in 2010. So that is 2 whales from Enroth's rookie year of 2009-2010 that I would love to own one day. I mean, they are fairly low numbered, but it's definitely a card that for a lot of people wouldn't drop a lot of draws, I don't think. But for, you know what, whatever reason, they have both been questions to even exist. So those are for me big white whales that I would love to have. I've been searching for them for 10 years, like I said. And I mean, I would love to acquire them. I've heard of collectors finding their white whales, you know, 20 years later. I heard of another collector from Finland finding a card that he needed. I forget the player, but it took him 15 years to find. So I mean, man, these searches can go on a long time, and it's important that, you know, if you are in it for the long haul, whether you're a set collector or a team collector, or especially a player collector like we tend to gravitate towards, try not to give up. I know it's discouraging, especially if you have maybe seen one sell or something, but or if you've questioned your own sanity to even debate if it's even out there. Chances are it is out there. For the most part, checklists are very reliable. So, I mean, just keep an eye out, and hopefully you'll be able to find it. Eric, I'm going to pass it off over to you. Are there any cards out there that, for whatever reason, I know you mentioned a one of one off the top, but are there any other cards that speak out to you, that ones that you would love to own one day for your Hjalmarsson collection, or any others?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. We were talking a little bit before. I knew you'd have a couple
Yep.
cards in mind for sure.
Like I mentioned earlier, the 0809 SP Game Use Platinum Spectrum one of Hjalmarsson is definitely the white whale of my Hjalmarsson collection.
Yeah,
Um,
those sort of butt in here. Those SB game use one of ones, especially the rookies. I find they're very underrated in the hobby. Like I know right now, like I was looking at Marc Andre Fleury's SB game use rookies. he has a 99 and out of 25, I believe. But anyway, like I just find that those rookies are very undervalued, but they are like any year you look, the SB Game Used rookies are really, really nice, especially those years that they did do one of ones. So I definitely know the card you're looking at from that year, the 0809. Man, I'm hoping you get it. Anyway, sort of butt in, but they're great cards. They're undervalued, but great cards.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And especially I think that 0809 SP Game Used rookie design is just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Even at the base level, but specifically the gold spectrum cards out of 10 of
Yeah,
those
I
are
have one of
really,
those. Yep.
really nice as well. As far as some other cards for Jalmerson, there are definitely a handful of other ones that I would probably put into whale category. Funny of which, I know at least one of these you have the Enroth version of it, which is kind
Oh,
of funny.
oh, which one is that?
The one that I'm talking about right now is the 11-12 score Black Ice parallel.
Yes. Oh, those ones are great. Those are, yeah, definitely from a low end product with score. At a, well, like I'll let you talk about the production, about why this might be so sought after. These black parallels, these ice black parallels. But yeah, I know exactly the card you're talking about, and those are fantastic.
Yeah. I think and a lot of player collectors would probably resonate with this, but and even cards on my want list after years, quite a few of them are cards that come out of really low end products,
Mm-hmm.
with Score and OPG. Two other Jalmerson cards I was going to mention were the 15-16 and 16-17 OPG retro blank backs. I still have not been able to acquire either of those cards after these years. I think a lot of that could just be that, there's a lot of it produced and probably a lot of it isn't opened, as well as, since they're lower end products, a lot of kids are probably opening it and very well just might not even realize that they just got a really rare card. Or even, more experienced collectors, they might, just have opened a lot of that product and, it just slipped through the cracks. Especially with the OPG retro blank backs, it's a lot easier to miss those than it would be to miss one of the Score black cards. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these cards that player collectors can't find oftentimes are coming from those super low end sets, just, for whatever reason, they just can't find them. So that, another one is the 13-14 Score redback. I've never seen a
Oh yeah,
copy,
yeah.
never seen a copy of that card. Who knows? I mean, they're out there. I know they're out there, but
Or even
especially
the score. If you want to talk about score, the score
the,
French backs are
yeah,
stupid. Those are
yeah,
stupid. I mean, I love them, but I hate them so much.
yeah. Funny enough, I at one point had two copies of John
See, that
Wilson
makes me
without
mad.
them.
That makes me mad. Like I'm happy for you, but that like makes me mad. Like us collectors are trying to get one copy, even to see a copy, and you're running around with two. That's
I
okay. No, it's fine.
No, I
I'm not
actually
mad.
I sold one of them shortly after. I don't think I really realized how rare they were at the time. And generally, I mean, I there are some cards of my guys that I will not necessarily hoard, though there are a few that I actually do legitimately hoard. But for the most part, I'm perfectly content just having one copy. So at that point for that card, I just said, hey, like I've got my copy. I really don't need two of them. So I sold the other
Makes
one.
sense. Makes
But
sense.
if I came across another one, I would definitely take a shot at it if it was a reasonable price. Just because I know that they're extremely hard to find.
Yes.
And then one other card that's completely switching gears for Jalmerson is the 13-14 Dominion Engravatures card, which those are numbered out of 15, and
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen two of them. I saw one that went into a set collection. The guy is a hardcore Blackhawks collector and has the whole set of them. And I don't know where he found it, but he did. And then there was one that sold pretty close to release that, at the time I just thought that's way too much money for the card. I'm sure there'll be another one that'll pop up, in a month or two or whatever, and it'll sell for half that, and I'm content with waiting. Well, of course, here we are, whatever, 6 years later, and
Yeah.
if that card popped up at that price that the first one sold for, I'd be head over heels to buy it in a heartbeat at that price. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's it for Jalmerson. Those are really the main six that I've really been looking for. As far as some other players, Slavin, like I mentioned, I did find the Cut Black Auto, but the Cut Black Shield is still out there somewhere. I've never seen it.
It could be because that year, like I mentioned when you picked up, just through our personal conversations, I did mention that year that I'm so jazzed that you found it, because that year is obviously the McDavid year, the
Right.
15-16. So how many of those unopened boxes or unopened cases are there of that 15-16 cup product? Just because of the McDavid factor, probably a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Guys just sitting on a box or sitting on a case. I mean, those cards that we're looking for as collectors that are just happen to be in that product, who knows if they're still stashed away just because of the McDavid effect. So the fact that you were able to find a one of one of your PC player, just find it, is amazing, because again, because of the McDavid effect, there is a chance that for some collectors out there, their card is just sitting in a box, especially that year, because of all the McDavid hopefuls out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, I'm pretty sure that the Slave and Black Auto was pulled just recently. That's kind of the vibe that I got when I was talking to the seller about the card. He made it sound like he and his son opened that box that the card was in somewhat recently.
I
Um,
wonder if they were, holding it for McDavid and just said, let's just rip it,
yeah, I don't know.
because it's an
It could
expensive
be.
product, man.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, so I mean, hopefully that card will surface eventually. I mean, I think it'd be safe to say that that Black Shield is
Hmm.
the best card of Slavin ever. You know, people I guess might argue that the Black Auto is just because it's autographed, but to me, the Shield is definitely the card to have of him. So I'm hopeful that I'll eventually find it, but who knows? And then really the only other Slavin card that I would put in whale category at this time, though I'm sure in a few years there will be a few others, but the other one would be the rookie year, so 15-16 Upper Deck Premier Platinum Blue Auto one of one. I've never
Hmm.
seen it, so we'll see. And then just as far as a couple other cards for my Ryan Dzingel collection, I have 3 of the 4 SP Authentic rookie printing plates. I have the black, magenta, and yellow plates, and I need the cyan. And I know it's out there. I've seen it. I saw it listed for sale on Facebook back in early 2019. And before I could work out a deal with the seller, he sold it to a buddy and refuses to give me contact information for the guy he sold it to.
Man,
So
that's tough. I mean, it's fair if they want to do that. It's their right to do that for sure. But man, that's tough. Have you ever like, just a side question here? Have you ever completed a printing plate rainbow before?
nope, I
Me neither.
am
Me neither. That's why I asked.
no. I would love to. I am one away on, I believe, 4 different ones. I think
Okay, cool.
I would have to check my Slavin checklist. I believe I'm one away on his SP Authentic plates as well as his Upper Deck Ice plates.
That's
Um,
awesome.
I'm pretty sure. But yeah, as far as the Dezingle, that's the only they only did printing rookie year printing plates for SP Authentic for him, even though he has other rookie cards. He only
Yeah, it's
has
weird that they
printing
do
plates
that.
of those.
It's weird. Maybe it could be the plates were heavily used. It needed a second run. I'm not sure exactly how the printing process works for everything, but yeah, it could have been too banged up for the product. Who knows? No, I just asked because sometimes if collectors collect the entire printing plate rainbow, which is 4 plates, and they collect the rainbow that card was used to produce, those printing plates were used to produce, you get kind of like a double rainbow thing going on, which is a lot of terms to throw at you guys. But yeah, a double rainbow is really cool, and it's usually accompanied right after a collector hits a printing plate rainbow. They can hopefully go after that, which is really just a cool little thing.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm hopeful that I'll eventually be able to find that guy. I have no idea I'm pretty sure that same plate sold on eBay, and I think at the time I just wasn't super interested in picking them up. I'm pretty sure it was that one. I guess it could have been one that I then later did acquire, but I'm pretty sure it was that cyan plate that sold on eBay, and I just passed on it at the time. So if that's true, then it's slipped through my fingers twice now. And then the final one would be the Derek Whitmore printing plate from Ultimate Collection from his rookie card. The yellow plate. I have the black cyan and magenta plates. I've never seen the yellow plate, so. But yeah, if I can find that one, that'll finish off all four of those plates. And as far as his anything NHL card related, whether that be cards, parallels, printing plates, show exclusive cards, any of those, if I can find that printing plate, that'll put me at 100% for his stuff. So that's literally the
That's unreal
only
that
card
you
of his
get.
I need.
I mean, even with small collections, to some that might not be a big deal, but just to get 100% completion of any player is very, very cool. It's definitely a big accomplishment. I've been pretty close. I think I'm at about 93, 94, 95 or something like that for one of my smaller collections. But still very, very cool. So I definitely hope you do that. Just if we can sort of switch gears, but that's kind of our stories about our findings and our white whales for our collections that we're hopefully still searching for. So we just want to give some advice now to for those collectors who are maybe new, like of the white whale terminology, or for those collectors who have been at it for a bit and definitely know those cards that we're talking about, and maybe have a couple for their collections that they would love to acquire one day. We just want to give you some tips that you can use to find your white whale. And I use that term loosely because obviously we can't will that card into existence right in front of your eyes, but we could definitely give you some tips that we've used to hopefully make that goal of finding that card a little bit more attainable. So I'm just going to start here. Just another big tip for finding, say, a particular card or a particular set of cards is just to kind of be everywhere. As much as we would like to kind of keep our hobby to ourselves, I think it's very important that we connect with people, whether it be in person at shows, like maybe at the Toronto Expo or the National, just to get to know people, and what they collect, what you collect. So if a card ever comes up through a break, or it comes across their table, or if they buy it in a lot, they know exactly who to go for that particular card. They know to go to you. It might not be a big card. It might be a little card that you need, but there's always the chance that they come across a card that you've been looking for a very long time. So definitely get other people on the hunt with you, whether it be, directly saying, hey, this is the card I need, and let me know if you find it, or just indirectly just saying, hey, I collect this particular player, and if you happen to come across a card or two, definitely let me know. So you kind of get your point across that you're interested in that set of cards for your set, or just for that player, for your player collection. So that is definitely just kind of get the word about yourself out at shows in person or at your local card shop, so that people know to kind of notify you if some cards come up. Another big tip that I've used, you've heard me tell the story earlier in the podcast about the fact that a collector years later reached out to me on my website. And I do have a website for my collection. If you go to www.creasecollector.weebly.com, you'll find my little site that I created just for my card collection. It showcases what I collect. It also showcases card by card of primarily my Jonas Enroth collection. I do have some other stuff on there, but that's what it primarily focuses on. It also shows a want list and some avenues that you can connect with me at. So having that website, guys, has been huge. It's just given me another avenue to sort of like shout to the world that I collect and I'm looking for these types of cards. And so without that website, there's been, probably a handful of cards that I would not have even picked up if it wasn't for that site. People reaching out to me just randomly. That collector about the Masked Men cards who reached out to me was from the States, but I've had a collector from Finland reach out to me randomly through a Google search and has offered me a card or two that I haven't seen. So, and I definitely was stoked to pick up those. So it's definitely given me like another set of ears on the pavement, so to speak, for collectors to reach out to me about cards that they have. So as far as white whales are concerned, get yourself out there as much as possible and hope for the best, because it's definitely good to have people in your corner, whether it be in person or online, so they can contact you and reach out to you about cards that you need. So those are just my kind of tips to hopefully finding those white whales that you need. It's never a sure bet. You really don't know. And part of it as well, just your own due diligence of searching for cards you need, like say on ComC or eBay. And so definitely keep up with that. But yeah, hopefully find those whales, and I'm hoping these ideas can help you do just that.
Yeah, and I think just to add a few different suggestions as well, I think one thing for me that's been really helpful the last couple of years has been getting more involved specifically in Facebook card groups, and again, that's just kind of building that awareness of, hey, I collect this guy, or I'm looking for these specific cards. Some of you might know that I'm trying to complete the complete chest logo of the Jalmerson mega patches from last year. And there's a there's a group on Facebook called Mega Patch Maniacs.
I think you're like the admin of that probably.
And trust me, I'm not. There are some truly Mega Patch maniacs in the world. Shout out to Jay Jokish if you're listening. He is the Mega Patch maniac.
Yeah, I saw some stuff today from him. Unreal.
Yeah,
Unreal.
but yeah, just being part of that community and making guys like that aware of, hey, I'm serious about putting this thing together. I've got a mini army of guys, that are very connected within that mega patch community that are, looking out for me. And, there's specifically a couple guys, that anytime one of the Jalmerson cards surface on Facebook or on eBay or wherever, they'll immediately message me and say, hey, this one just popped up, just so you know. So just like Aaron said, really building up that awareness within the card community of, hey, this is who and what I collect. Let me know if you see anything. That can really go a long way. As well, another avenue of doing that would be getting involved in card forums. You hear us talk about places like Hobby Insider and Sports Card Forum. Those are great places to, again, kind of just develop a kind of a reputation for yourself as far as who and what you collect. And those are great places filled with very passionate collectors that are really, interested in also helping other people out. So being active on forums, I think, is another really good way to build a presence. And then one other thing, this is all related to online stuff, but seek out those kind of more obscure sites that do cards, whether that be, a European trading forum or,
Yeah, that's me
just,
right there.
yeah, I mean, that for both of us, collecting Swedish players, try to find those obscure European sites, things like that. Also, various card sites that might not be super active as far as transactions go, but they're more so good for, a database. Specifically, I kind of just rediscovered the other day Trading Card DB. That's really good for trying to find photos of cards that you might be looking for. It'll even tell you what user on the site submitted those photos. So sometimes you can just send a message to that person and say, hey, I saw you posted an image of this card. Do you still have it? Or, if you have it, is it available? Or, if it's gone, do you remember who you traded or sold it to? So I've done that for a handful of cards that I still have been looking for my player collections. So far, I have not had any luck yet. There is one that it seems like the guy is pretty sure he has it. He just can't find it, which is a little frustrating, but he knows he has it, and he'll let me know when it turns up. So just really doing that legwork to try to turn over any potential lead on a card that you need. It takes a lot of effort, but it can pay off. Another one I just thought of is if you're looking for a card of a product that is coming out, either recently or it is about to come out, watch the heck out of group breaks. I've found a couple of my Jalmerson mega patches by watching group break videos on YouTube. It's very time consuming, but it can definitely pay off. So yeah, I mean, I think really the big takeaway out of all of those suggestions that we've said is really just making an effort to establish within the card community what you're looking for. And there are plenty of people within the hobby that, will take note of that and actually will remember and reach out to you if they see something that you need.
Oh yeah, definitely some awesome points there. I love your point about, about Facebook and stuff like that. You're definitely more active on it than I am. I'm starting to get more involved with it, but definitely those Facebook groups, especially how like this is a totally different discussion, but how the market has changed as far as like where you're going to buy, sell, and trade your cards, and social media and all that stuff, and where you market per se your collection has definitely changed a lot over the years and will continue to change. And Facebook is a great avenue for that. There's many more, but just to your point about European card forums, this is kind of, I'm not sure if this is cool or a little crazy, but like just to find a card just for my collection, my Enroth collection. When he moved to the KHL to play for Dynamo Minsk in Belarus, I actually ended up going as far as signing up for a Russian Facebook site. And yes, there is a difference. It's not just a Russian guy on Facebook. It's called VK. It's a social media platform that is pretty much identical to Facebook. I'm not sure if Facebook owns it, but it looks very similar to Facebook. And a lot of collectors from Russia and Belarus are just on there because that's the social media that they use, and not Facebook. So I signed up, Russian text and all. Somehow I found my way to sign up for this site and connected with a employee for Dynamo Minsk in Belarus to acquire a card that was, a team or employee exclusive that year. So definitely something that me in Canada would never be able to get ever. Definitely went very far to get those cards that do not appear on the secondary market much over there, if at all, especially here, on eBay or anything like that. So definitely explore any option you can, even if that means translating a sentence or two from Russian, which I had to do quite a few times. Yeah, I do not speak Russian, but I had to learn a bit to get this card, which is cool. And I still do searches for there. I sign into my Russian Facebook, and I find a couple cards here and there. I actually do have another card coming in from Russia because of that site right now, actually. So it's very, very cool. So it definitely pays dividends to find those cards, find those avenues, and then definitely explore them to see if you can to find those cards. All right. So after our crazy stories about our white whales, we just want to know just some white whales that you're still looking for out there. Is there a card or two that you have not been able to acquire for some reason, or maybe you haven't seen? Definitely just let us know about that. And we just want to know those success stories as well. What whales have you been able to acquire for your collection? And if there's a sweet little story behind that, or maybe how long you had to look for it, definitely let us know. We love to hear about that stuff. As you can tell, this is probably going to be one of our longest episodes. We just love talking about this stuff, and we love hearing about it. So if you guys have a story or two about a card that you had to pick up and took you years, definitely let us know. We're going to be posting these questions on social media, so definitely keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And going along with that, if you guys let us know, what some of your whales are, we'll throw them up on our social media accounts, and hopefully someone that follows us might have that card and you can cross it off your list.
Yep. Could
So
happen. You never know.
yeah, I mean, I know we always tell you guys to interact with us, but seriously, do it. We're here for you guys too. We want to see you guys improve your collections and find cards that you need. So if we can help with that in any way, please do let us know. When I made that post that I mentioned earlier, trying to just help people find some whales a few months ago that there, I think, was at least one guy that was able to acquire a card just because someone saw his post and said, "Oh yeah, hey, I have that,"
That's
and
awesome.
they worked out a deal. And even though like I had nothing to do with the actual transaction, like it was awesome to just say, "Hey, like because I started this idea, this guy was able to find a card that he's been looking for years." So how awesome is that? Like that's great.
That's awesome.
So
What card was it?
it was I can't remember his username. He's on Hobby Insider, I know for sure. He collects the 99 2000 Upper Deck exclusives cards.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. I think he collects a bunch of Washington Capitals players as well, I
Okay.
believe. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, his collection is impressive. I think he has he has over 300 of those.
Yeah, I
That's
believe
insane.
I'm pretty sure when I made that post he needed 3 cards to complete that
Mm-hmm.
set, and so now he's down to 2, I think.
Yeah,
So,
I think I remember that actually. That is awesome.
yeah.
Great idea. Great idea.
Yeah. So seriously, guys, let us know what you're looking for. Like, not even, we'll put it out there, but, even if we can't help you find it, like, we just love hearing that stuff. And really, I mean, it's getting 2 extra sets of eyes for you guys on those cards. So let
Yeah.
us know. We'll be looking out for you guys too. So I think that'll do it for this very lengthy episode, but
Yeah.
hopefully you guys have enjoyed it and you're still listening. If you
Thanks
do,
for sticking around.
we really appreciate that. Please be sure to follow us on social media. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Center Ice Cardcast, and on Twitter at Center Ice CC. We don't usually mention it, but Aaron's handle on Twitter and Instagram is Crease Collector, in case you haven't figured that out. But yeah, make sure to follow him as well. He's a lot more active on Twitter and Instagram than I am. So I
Try to
still
be.
I have accounts on Twitter and Instagram, but I don't really use them for cards too much. So yeah, if you guys have tried following me on Twitter, I'm cool with that. But Instagram, I really don't use that for cards at all. So I don't really connect with any other collectors on Instagram much. But yeah, anyway, please also be sure to subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice to make sure you never miss a future episode. Until next time on Center Ice Cardcast, keep collecting those hockey cards.